guys, this is Michelle, and we are gonna do a little I Love It Chalk Talk. I've just got a few questions for Michelle, and she has graciously agreed to sit here and answer and share a little bit about her story. So we're really excited and thankful that you would take the time to do this.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, first question, Michelle, just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so I've been a member of I Love It for about a year now, and I started back in October 2019, and I started with one-on-one classes, rolled into group intro in November, and then started full member classes on November 18th of 2019. So,
Been about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you live in Linden.
I live in Linden. Yep. I've lived in Whatcom County for 20 years. So I'm originally from Saskatchewan.
Hey, I hear that A in there sometimes.
Yeah, Midwest girl, but I've lived stateside almost as long as I lived in Canada.
Okay.
So, yep, stay-at-home mom, one daughter. Not very exciting.
That is exciting. That is exciting. And your daughter, Addison, does CrossFit as well.
Yeah, she's been here a few months now. Loves it.
Love having her.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to come try CrossFit at CrossFit I Love It? A little bit about that, and then like what was the timing? Because I know you had mentioned that you were thinking about it some time prior to when you actually made the call and walked in the door. So can you just talk about that a little bit?
So I think that my path here is a little different than the norm in that I didn't know any of the members here. I don't have anybody in my life that I know who's ever tried CrossFit. I didn't really know anything about CrossFit. Like, it was a big mystery to me. I knew it had something to do with weights, but beyond that I didn't know. I remember driving down the Hannigan when Matt first opened in 2013 and seeing the sign and going, why is that? Like, the name caught my attention and created a little curiosity there. And I don't know if I looked it up at the time to see or what, I don't know, but it caught my attention. And about a year later, I saw a mom of someone who I don't know at Addison's school, and she was wearing I Love It swag. And I was like, hey, there's that name again. Like, what is that place? And so there was just always this kind of growing curiosity. And so, it took me 5 more years to make the call and find out, but I'm here now. So,
yes.
Yeah.
What gave you that final, I don't want to say courage, but what gave you that final push to actually call and inquire and like, hey, I want to do this now?
I think I needed a bit of a shake up, a bit of a change. And this just felt like a huge change. It was something so far outside of anything I had done in the past. And so it was just like, let's try something else. Let's try something new. And so it was more of a whim almost than anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You'd seen the website when you come in,
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about, so you've been here for a year.
Yes.
And it's been a journey.
It
For you.
has.
It's been a journey for anybody, I think, who's walked in the doors, but it's been a journey over the last year. And can you talk a little bit about how you've been able to kind of stay the course and stay consistent throughout this year? Because it's always has its own personal challenges, doing CrossFit, putting ourselves out there, but then also there was a challenge of COVID and being shut down, kind of right in the middle of when you're just starting to really sort of find your groove. So can you talk, how did you get through that and still continue to do what you did?
Yeah. So first of all, my family is crazy supportive. Like, they were the ones who pushed me to call you and make that first initial call, and were like, they have been behind me 100%. And that in itself is huge, to have that support and have them like not mind me working in workouts whenever it worked for me. And so that in itself was huge right there. But when I decided to come here and start, I decided I was going to not rely on motivation, because we all have long days, we all get busy, we wake up sore, we wake up tired, whatever the case may be. Like, it's so easy to talk yourself out of it. So I was like, I am going to treat this like a job. I am going to come, punch the clock, do the work, go home. I decided early on I wasn't going to cherry pick workouts. Like, in the beginning,
love
I came
that.
3 days a a week, and it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I was coming on those days no matter what. Because, you know, as soon as you look and thrusters make me cry, you know. So as soon as, if I look at a workout and it's thrusters that day, and I go, oh, I'm not gonna go that day, where do you draw that line?
Totally.
You know, it snowballs, and then pretty soon you're not coming at all. So
Right.
it was show up no matter what, and, you know, there's so many classes available in a day. I mostly come to the noon class, nooners. That's my space, but if I have to, I work in a different class, and so I just make it work. I was 4 months in when COVID struck, and, you know, honestly, I never once considered like putting my membership on hold or whatever the case may be, because I can't imagine how hard it was for you guys, but you guys like hit the ground running, right? Like it was checkout gear, and videos were ready to go every single day, and foundational movement videos, and, you know, there was a bigger social media presence where we as members could still be together. You know, I got to know a few people even more so than I would have because of that, you know. And so, and texting, and you guys did everything that you could to still make us all feel like we were having this personalized, individual experience. You know, you were there to answer our questions, there to help us modify things, and, you know, it was hard, but we weren't alone, you know, and you did everything that you could to keep us going. And so, like, did I do every workout that I would have done otherwise? No. Did I do it to the same intensity? No, but I still did them.
Totally.
I didn't quit. I worked it in. You know, I used that time, a lot of that time, to kind of, as Matt would say, build my engine.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
so, and when we came back, I feel like it came back a little stronger.
Yeah.
And a little better than even before we left. But like coming back was everything, right?
It was
like,
so exciting.
It felt so good to come
So
back
good.
and see everybody's faces and just be in it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you had it taken away like that, there was like no way that I'm not going to keep coming, keep punching that clock.
So it even made you kind of realize, like, oh man, when I have this taken away, I even appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Because I think people can easily go the other way. Like, oh, I don't have this now, and it's easy to give up and use it as an excuse. So how did you, like, what is in your mindset? Like, I loved how you said, I didn't count on motivation, because we're not going to be motivated every day.
Absolutely.
It was just a dedication, a commitment, right?
Yep.
So how can you, like, how did you, you know, you'd only been doing it for 4 months, and it would have been so easy for that to turn into an excuse of like why you should stop. Is there anything that just like goes on in your brain? Like, how did you make that, turn that into something positive? Because you obviously did, or you wouldn't have been as so successful this last year.
Yeah. You know, I don't know, Kaylee. For me, it was just, I'm making this commitment, and let's just do this now. And there was no stopping after that. And it wasn't even, it didn't even become a thought process. But I think, you know, along with, I have a 13-year-old watching me, you know, and not wanting to quit. I tell her she needs to do the hard, right? And if she makes a commitment, she needs to stick with it, and she needs to follow through. And so I just kind of had to put my money where my mouth was, right?
Yeah.
If I expect that of her, I need to expect that of myself.
Which is amazing. That's some motivation for everybody. Michelle, can you talk a little bit about the changes in your health over this last year? Maybe I jumped a question down for you, but you know, like some metrics you were talking about, you know, some different things. Can you talk a little bit about the changes you experienced, both like physically, mentally, maybe emotionally as well?
Yeah. So not a big go to the doctor person.
Yep.
So I didn't have like a lot of benchmarks to go off of. I had gone to the doctor when I was 40 and had done like, oh my gosh, sorry to all the healthcare professionals, because I'm not up with the jargon and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I had gone when I was 40, and I had done like the lipid panels and done all that kind of stuff. And despite the fact that I was so overweight, I was I don't know if I'm blessed genetically, I don't know what it is, but I didn't have any of those typical markers that somebody my size would have. So like, I didn't have high blood pressure, I wasn't pre-diabetic or diabetic or anything like that. I had elevated cholesterol.
Okay.
not enough to warrant medication.
Okay.
But, so I was very fortunate in that way. I mean, who knows over the last 6 years how much I may have lost of that along the way, because I never went in to get it checked, right? Which in itself is not great. Like, you should be willing to take care of your health and, you know, not just kind of ignore it or whatever. But I always felt like I was active enough. You know, like, I always feel like my story is not typical of what you see. Like, I was never like, oh, I can't walk up my stairs. Oh, I can't do the tasks that I need to do in a day because my weight is keeping me from doing that. Like, I always felt like I could do what I needed to do, but I also never pushed myself outside of the comfort zone to, you know, see how much more I could do other than the minimum, or whatever the case may be. So anyways, now I've been like encouraged to go back to the doctor and get things checked out, and he gave me this big speech about like, oh, your cholesterol was probably genetic, so when we get your blood panels back, you'll probably still have elevated cholesterol, and so be prepared for that, and so on and so forth. And everything came back perfect. Like, my blood pressure is 112/64.
And this was recently, right?
This was 3 weeks ago.
And your,
So,
oh my gosh.
Yes, and so, you know,
and your cholesterol.
cholesterol's perfect. Everything was perfect. Like, even in his notes, the doctor wrote that he was shocked that everything was as steady and in as good of a range as it was.
That's so amazing.
So yeah, so that part it's been good. Like, I definitely know I'm stronger. I definitely know I'm faster.
Yeah, because when you started in intro camp, were you able to hang on the rig?
No.
And how long can you, I mean,
you know, we're still working on that, right?
totally,
But, like,
but you're able, you know,
yes,
you can.
yeah, now I can do kipping knee raises.
Right, which is,
So,
I mean, just to be able to support your own body weight like that,
Yes.
like that is just, that alone is
It's huge.
huge.
We did Turkish get-ups this week.
Yeah.
And that was a moment for me, because I went back and I was like, would I have been able to do this when I started? Would I have been able to do this with the extra 130 pounds on my frame? And like, no, I wouldn't have, you know. And so you think about that and you're like, well, that's just getting your body up off the ground.
Right.
You know, and yes, I could get up off the ground, but maybe have to lean on something, or,
Right.
you know, it wasn't as easy as it is now.
And how many burpees can you do now, all the way down to the floor?
Yeah, well,
You know, that's
however many
amazing.
you make me do. You know?
Well, and 130 pounds, is that what you're down?
That is what I'm down to date.
To
Yep.
date.
Yep.
And that's basically been a year and a week, pretty much, or like
Pretty
just
much.
over, yeah,
Yeah.
just over, barely over a year.
Barely over a year.
Wow, Michelle.
Yeah. Yep,
That's
that is.
amazing.
Yeah.
So it kind of leads me to the next question. Kind of,
Yeah.
why do you feel like CrossFit works for you? And kind of what keeps you coming back? We talked about like the commitment, but obviously if you weren't seeing results and feeling yourself getting stronger, like
Right.
what is it that keeps you,
Yeah.
back on your routine?
Yeah. So I found, like, I really like to push myself, and I like to dig into the hard. So we get the workouts the night before, and I can't tell you how many times I look at a workout and go, yeah, Matt and Kaylee are crazy. Like, 150 wall balls, like, that is not happening. There's no way. Like, I can't do that. And then I come and we do the warm up and we do the WOD prep, and all of a sudden I've done 150 wall balls, or whatever the case may be.
At
You know?
least, because you didn't even count the ones in warm up.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a good feeling to push yourself and go, well, I didn't know I could do that, and now here I am, and I've done it. And it's just, it's a really good feeling. But beyond that, this works for me because there's, it's variety. It's different every day, and I don't have to think about it. The programming is done for me. I walk in the door, all I have to do is follow what you guys tell me to do, and you feel like when you come in here, you have your own personal one-on-one trainer every single time, and the coaches are here, they're not just here to push the button 3, 2, 1 time and go. Like, you guys are here to help us scale if we need to scale, teach us, encourage us. I never have felt like I'm on this island out by myself with no clue of what I'm doing. Or, you know, I mean, there are days where I have no idea what I'm doing, but like you guys will direct me and get me there, you know. And it's a really, pardon me, it's a really good feeling. But, you know, and there's a lot of other things too. There's no egos here. Check your ego at the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge, especially for someone who was so intimidated in the beginning like I was. You know, there's no mirrors. That was a good thing. You know, there's nobody like, you know, checking themselves out, you know, that kind of thing. And like there's no distractions. So we can just come in here and it's just you and the wad. And you can just put your stuff, whatever's going on outside of here, to the side for that hour and just dig in and just get to the task at hand, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a good place to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable and being vulnerable. Like nobody judges you on that because everybody's kind of in the same boat.
Totally.
Right? And so that's huge for me. And you know, results. But it's not just like the weight loss, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm happy about that, but it's so much more than just weight loss.
Definitely.
You know, it really does affect you, body, mind, and spirit.
It seems like that is a great bonus, you know, for all these other things. And that kind of brings me back to the question before. I said, do you talk about some of those health metrics changes? Like we talked about sort of some of the physical ones, like mentally, kind of emotionally, like what has that been like for you? Have you noticed things that are different?
You know, I think that when you go through the journey that I've gone through, you have a lot of ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And it's a ride, you know.
For
but
sure.
Early on in all of this, my husband said to me one night, like, I could care less if you lose a pound. You are so much happier.
Oh,
you know, and
that's
just like
the best.
happier with myself, just happier all around. Like you just you feel so good that you're doing something for yourself and that you're achieving these goals that it just kind of branches out into everything, right?
Yeah.
And so
for sure.
It's been really
the day you come in and you PR your deadlift, right? That feels just as good as losing 5 pounds.
Right.
Right? Or maybe it feels better.
It really does. Yeah, for sure.
So I think people will think like, oh my gosh, she lost 130 pounds in 1 year. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, they might just assume that you've had this just linear journey of just success on success, just, you know, just going, you know, but it's always way more difficult and ups and downs, like you were saying, than someone would maybe think. So what's one thing that you've learned throughout the last year through your journey and this process and the steps that you've taken to kind of really take your health and wellness into your own hands?
Well, you know, the thing of it is I think that what I've learned about here, and that has made all the difference in the world, is that you guys really care about us. Like, you care about us. You know what I mean? Like, I know. Like you really care about who we are as people, who we are in our lives, you know, and that is huge. Like it was evident from the very first conversation that you and I had on the phone that you, despite the fact that you were about to have a baby and you know all the things going on, you've never seen me before. You had no idea what kind of condition I was in, you know, but you picked up on my nerves and you know just me being scared and all that kind of stuff, and knew exactly what I needed without even knowing me, you know, and that's huge. Eric had texted me before I even met her and was like, offered me words of encouragement and, you know, introduced herself and was just doing her best to make me feel comfortable before I ever walked in the door. When I got here, coaches were coming up to me, whether they were here for their own personal time or coaching a class, and introduced themselves and took a minute to get to know me. And like all of that is huge because it builds trust, right? And by building the trust, it helps us so that we listen to you. And if we listen to you, how can we not achieve our goals, right? Like we just kind of, you know, it's just, it all kind of goes together. So yes, I made this commitment, and yes, I come and I show up and all, but it's because because I have that ability to trust you guys and listen to you guys, that I've come as far as I have.
Well, I think it's a big testament to you too, because like you said, you know, you have that dedication, you're not trusting that motivation, you're here no matter what, but you're also willing to communicate. If something's feeling a little off or weird, like you let us know.
Right.
So you provide us the platform to be able to do our job by asking, by being honest and truthful, and just meeting yourself where you're at that day.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because every day in the gym is not PR day. You know,
for sure.
Little, you know, I know you've had different little injuries and ailments along the way.
Yep.
And you know, how have you, you know, again, you've just been amazing with not letting things that could be excuses or setbacks stop you.
Right.
And I just like, what is, like, I wish I could bottle that up and sell it to people.
Well, but you know, that's because of you guys. My first group intro camp, that Matt was here one night, and he was like, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, if something's broken, you show up. Like, we will figure it out for you guys. And I took that to heart. You know, and there have been things, you know, I've got a tweaky old lady knee, or that's what I call it, my tweaky old lady knee.
Tweaky old lady knee.
You know, or, you know, who knew that my shoulders were not as mobile as I wish that they were? You know, it's still something to work towards. Or there is no allowance for excuses, because you guys literally will work around anything. Like, it's amazing. You know, I hurt my arm that time, and I was like, there's no way. Like, I can see you working around a knee or a foot or whatever, but how are you going to work around an arm? You did. You know?
Possible. There's always something.
There's always a way.
For
so,
sure.
Yeah.
Is there something, do you have like one particular like moment or thing, whether it was like necessarily like in the gym or outside the gym related, that you had to really work to overcome?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So, you know, it'd be easy to say, oh, it was, you know, the tweaky old lady knee,
Yeah.
or, you know, something
Yeah.
like that. But my biggest thing that I had to overcome was myself. So,
Wow.
my past history is, at one time in my life, I was an athlete, you know, and I was so caught up in those glory days and who I used to be and what I used to be able to do. And it was actually Matt, in his, you know, very kind and gentle way, who called me out on it. And he was like, you know, that's great that you have that past history, but you're an athlete today. You showed up, you're doing the work, and that makes you an athlete today. And you know, at first I was like, okay, whatever, Matt, you know. But it sat with me, and it sunk in, and it took a while for me to accept it and to get there. But once I stepped out of my own way, like, then I really started enjoying the process, enjoying coming. And it wasn't just like punching the clock.
Right.
It was like, what can I achieve today? Where can I go with this today? And like, right now, I'm happy with where I'm at, but I'm so excited about where I'm going.
Totally.
You know, like, I cannot wait to see where I'm at in a year, or in 4 years, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So yeah,
I think I've told you that. Like, I always feel like we overestimate what we can do in a day or a week, and we underestimate what we can do in a year.
Absolutely.
And that actually beautifully brings me to my next question. You're still at the beginning of your journey.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, what is a long-term and a short-term goal that you still, you know, that you have in your mind? I know you have probably a ton of goals, just knowing you and who you are, which is amazing, but just kind of curious.
Yeah. So I like to think of it as a short-term goal. I don't know if it will be or not, but of course I'd like to get to a maintenance weight. Like, I still have a ways to go with the weight loss part of this journey. What that number is, I don't know. I had a number at the beginning, I don't anymore. Like, I've thrown it out the door.
I love that.
And I'm like, when I get to a place where I'm comfortable, I'll know it. And so, you know, that's always something that I'm kind of working towards, but I'll get there when I get there. I know that I'll get there. It may take a little longer than I originally planned, but it's not the end of the world. You know, as far as long-term goals go, yeah, I just want to keep being consistent. Just keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep pushing myself. You know, the rig stuff is so intriguing to me, because that's not where my background is. My background is in running that kind of thing. And so I don't do a lot on the rig, but I'm looking forward to the day that I do more.
Yeah.
And I'm working towards that. And climbing a rope, I've never climbed a rope in my life. So like that is a bucket list thing for me.
We'll get you there.
For specific things, but
Yeah.
I know that I will get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but the main thing is just to continue being consistent, continue showing up, and just stay the course.
Sure.
There is no end game for me. There's no finish line.
Love that.
So we'll just keep trucking along.
So in this, you've obviously are making decisions outside of the gym too that are supporting this.
Mhm.
You've got to be getting sleep.
Yes.
You've got to be looking at your nutrition.
I am.
And so these other things that support it, like what does that look like a little bit for you, those things as well?
So definitely sleep has been a huge thing for me. Like before I started here, I was running on 4.5, maybe 5 hours of sleep a night. I did not acknowledge the level of importance that sleep has. And so now I'm hitting like 7, 7.5, maybe. When I first started that, I was exhausted. Like I would get up, take Addison to school in the morning, come home, and go back to bed until almost before it was time to come here. Like I was exhausted, but I worked through that, right? And so as I've managed to get my sleep on track, that has definitely helped. Like that's huge for recovery and being ready to go again the next day.
Absolutely. You can feel the physical difference, right? Even the mental, like clarity,
absolutely.
The cloudiness of like not enough sleep.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely, 100%. So I mean I did not give that the importance that I should have for years. And so that has been huge. The food stuff, I mean, you don't gain the amount of weight that I gained without having some disordered eating issues along the way. And so that has definitely been a bigger struggle for me. But I started working with Erica and with her program, and she's been incredible. And so we've definitely tweaked some things and worked through some things, and you feel like you're kind of over the hump and starting to progress and get to the other side. So all of it comes together, and it's all important. If you want to be more successful here, you need to be more successful there. Like it all kind of comes together in the end. So
when you start like loving it and seeing the results, you're like, man, I do need to sleep because I want to do good on my workout tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
Okay, food is the fuel. Like, what do I need to eat to make set myself up for success in my workout today?
Right.
What do I need to recover?
Yeah.
How and using food and nutrition in that way is this holistic view.
Absolutely.
Because it really is. It's it's medicine too.
It is. And when you start thinking of it, I never thought of it this way before, but I have started now. When you start thinking of your food, like good, nutritious food as a prescription, and you think doctors prescribe so much, but nobody prescribes just good, healthy food.
How about some veggies?
Right? Exactly. Exactly. And nothing against, medication and that kind of stuff.
It has its time and place,
right.
But, what if we looked at this a little bit more just in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know I still struggle to eat enough vegetables. I don't think, is anyone ever like, man, I'm just eating way too many veggies?
Right.
Said nobody ever.
I need to cut back.
Said no one ever.
Exactly.
And that's what's, I think, cool too about our community here is everybody is trying to dial that in some way. And like, whether that's like massing, or, just working on recovery or, different, whatever it is, everyone has their own goals and
for sure.
But everyone's trying to support their lifestyle. And I think as CrossFitters, we all can, come together on a certain amount of like, this is part of our lifestyle for sure. So
for sure. When I did finally go to the doctor, and I don't see him very often, but he has been my doctor for 20 years, so he knows me kind of, anyways.
Yeah.
And I said to him, no, it's me, not you. Why you haven't seen me in so long and whatnot. And he said, Michelle, we all become patients eventually. And I thought, okay, I see where you're going with that, but not today. And not like, why not do everything we can to hold that off as long as we can?
Totally.
Right? And sometimes it's completely out of our control.
Right.
And it is what it is. why not try to control the things that we can and get our health, do what we can for ourselves the best way that we can.
You literally just described the fitness, wellness, sickness continuum.
Right?
Farmer Bob.
Farmer Bob.
Farmer Bob. So if you don't know, CrossFit has a sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, and it's just kind of this, graph showing, man, the fitter we are, the more we can move ourselves away from sickness, and there's certain things that, we don't have control over, like maybe a microbial infection,
Right.
Something like that, that we, like you said, but the closer we are to fitness,
Yeah.
it's gonna maybe push us back,
Yeah.
but it's not as far as if we were living in sickness. You get that, man.
Yeah.
We got a problem there. So I love that you just, you just described that.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. What's your favorite WOD or your favorite movement?
So my favorite WOD I love the lawn chippers.
Oh, I
The stuff
like
that
it.
you just have to dig in, put your head down, and get to work. And
Yeah.
they're by far and above, they're my favorite. Especially if we don't have to go back and redo.
Yeah, chippers.
a movement.
Once you're done,
Once you're done, you're done, and you can move on. So those are far and above my favorite. As far as like favorite movements, kind of the stereotypical tall girl stuff. Deadlifts, kettlebell swings. Although today I don't know if I was loving them as much.
Do you like rowing?
I don't mind rowing.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it. So, maybe TMI, but when I started
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
I wasn't able to reach the handle on the rower comfortably. Like
Oh.
it was an effort for me. So I didn't love rowing then.
Then.
But now it's a non-issue now. And
Yeah.
so that's every time I row, that's in my head.
Yeah.
And that definitely makes me
So
enjoy
good.
rowing a little bit more. Anytime there's a running WOD, I'm your girl. Like I am here for it.
Yeah. A lot of
So,
people don't love it, so that's.
yeah.
Is there, like you had that moment with the rower, right?
Yeah.
Have you had more of those? Well, I know you have because you shared a couple with me, so I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share with other people. Like some of those moments throughout that kind of hit you out of nowhere when you're like, man, because you're like charge ahead.
Yeah.
Focus on what's next. Like I'm on my journey, I'm going.
Yeah.
But it is, we've talked about, it's important to take a second sometimes and look back and appreciate how far you've come. Not that should derail where you're going, but just
Right.
to
It's hard
honor.
to find that balance.
Yes,
sometimes.
totally. Honor and recognize the work you've put in,
Right.
appreciate it, but then continue on
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, and Eric and I were just talking about that today because I was so busy charging ahead that I was totally not acknowledging where I had come from.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy either. We should celebrate ourselves along the way
Absolutely.
as well. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to better that goal, but honor what you have achieved.
Absolutely.
Like you were saying, when I first started, Erica was like, when we did our one-on-one class, she was like, okay, let's see how long you can hang on the rig. And it was 0 seconds. It was, if there could be a negative in the time, like it was that.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was December 18th. Like I remember the first day I hung on the rig. I also tripped on a plate that day and landed on the ground. So like balance.
Balance? Yeah. Yeah.
But and it was for, I don't know, seconds. It wasn't a long time, but I hung on the rig that day. And so there have been things along the way.
How about right here?
Yeah, there's this, sitting in the chair, the first time I came up here, and I was like, have a seat, and I was like, I don't know about sitting in that chair, and to sit in chairs and not have to think about, like, I didn't realize how much my family was looking out for me in ways like that, like going to a restaurant, making sure that we weren't in a booth, going to the eye doctor, and or the dentist, they always have such little chairs in the
Yeah.
waiting room, and a lot of people don't have to think about that, but I did, right? And so just not having that in your head all the time, it's very freeing,
I always appreciate when you share those moments with me, because when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, Michelle, like it kind of, and that's like sort of that looking back and like making sure that you are appreciating
Right.
the work you put in, because like those things can hit you at different times, right? And you're not even maybe
Yes.
aware of it.
Absolutely, 100% they do. And there are the big things where you set a goal. Like, when I first came, we ran the 300 meter, and
Mhm.
I had to take a break on on the other side of the warehouse. And, you know, I was a runner at one time of my life. And so that was like heartbreaking to have to face that you've let this health that you once had and let it go, right? And then have to scratch and claw to get it back. And so that running a 10-minute mile was in my head. Like, I want to get a 10-minute mile. You know, at a run club, I hit that 10-minute mile.
Yeah, you did.
And, you know, it was awesome, but I was like, okay, now I got to get a 9-minute mile, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, you know.
Which is great because that's what keeps you going, but it is important to balance that with really like, wow, like, okay, you couldn't run a 300-meter course a year ago, and you just ran a 10-minute mile.
Right.
That is an incredible amount of work, dedication, paying off right there.
Yes.
And choices, continual choices to support this goal. Not just in here, not to show up, but like we're talking about sleep, nutrition, like you are constantly supporting this goal.
Yes. Yes. It becomes, you know, it's funny because it becomes all encompassing, but at the same time, it sounds like it takes up a lot of volume in your brain, and some days it does, but it's becoming more and more autopilot. So you have to think about it less and less, and it just becomes your life.
This is just what you do.
It's just what you do.
Which
so
is amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Is there anything else that you would like to share? And then I have just one final follow-up question for you.
Okay. So yes, there is something I'd like to share. So I really want to encourage anyone who's on the fence, who might see this video, to come. Like, if you aren't sure and you're intimidated and, you know, you hear all these crazy things about people who CrossFit, right?
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, you're gonna get
sure.
this or that or whatever. And it's like, it is so much better than you ever think it's going to be. You know, so it's just come and show up. Like, you guys have a mission statement on the wall downstairs, and I read that mission statement all the time because it's not just there for looks. You know, some places it is, but here, you just know right off the bat that you guys live, breathe, eat, sleep. Like, it is what this place is all about. Like, this really is the best part of my day because it makes every aspect of my day outside of here better. You know, and the community really is as incredible as everybody says that they are. You know, everybody is so supportive and so encouraging, and it really is a place that you can come and be yourself and know that you're going to 100% be supported the whole way through. You know,
I'm not gonna cry. It's
right?
fine.
You're
fine.
crying. I'm not crying.
crying.
You're crying. But yeah, it really is everything that you guys have set it out to be. You know, I was telling you, even my 13-year-old.
I was just gonna say,
Right?
literally, like the biggest compliment that you could ever give us is bringing your daughter here.
Yeah.
That's the biggest, because that's, you know, I have two, and you can't. There is no greater compliment.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and she loves it. You know, and I was telling you, she came out one night and she was like, I feel like I can be myself there. And like, she's 13. What 13-year-old feels like they can be themselves anywhere, right?
That almost makes me cry too.
But yeah, it doesn't matter how old you are, what level of fitness you have, what, you know, if you're in shape, you're not in shape, you need to lose weight, it doesn't matter. Just come. Yeah.
Well, you kind of stole my last question because I said, do you have any advice for someone who is contemplating taking the journey that you started a year ago?
Yeah.
That was literally my last question, and I feel like you kind of answered that already.
The game is so suiting because it is like, I love it here, you know. And so I couldn't have picked a better name, you know. It's been really good. It has literally been life-changing for me.
Well, it's been seriously so amazing for us and all of our coaches, because, you know, we talk about you, talk about our members, to each other, and it's just been, we felt like it's been a privilege to be a part of your journey. And we know that you are, you know, just getting started.
Yes.
You know, it's been a year, but it's been a privilege to help you through the hard moments, but support you through your triumphs, and there's been so many, and it's just been amazing to see your progression, and that is a testament to you and your mindset and what you do, and just I know it was not your favorite thing to sit down and talk with me,
No.
but I really appreciate you taking the time, because I think that whether you want to believe it or not, you're very inspiring. And I think that, yes, she doesn't like,
You know, I
she doesn't
struggle
like,
with
she doesn't
that
like
word.
that. She doesn't like that.
Not
But, so
big on that.
I'll say it then. But you are inspiring to, I think, beyond what you realize, because people, we all work out together and people see, what you're doing, and it is inspiring,
Yeah.
So I hope that, this inspires someone else to take the journey as well.
I know that's a big part of why I was okay with sitting down. I'm not comfortable with the inspiring thing, because
She's
I
not.
see everybody come here, right? And we all have such busy lives outside of here.
Totally.
And so, whether your work or your kids or whatever, like, we're all, the fact that everybody is showing up and willing to come in here is not, it's not easy.
Right.
Like, the workouts are hard, and so the fact that everybody is, like, everybody inspires me,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
so I've had some success with weight loss, but, it's so much more than that,
Definitely.
so.
And that's what I think is, sorry to use the word inspiring again, but that's what I think is, because that's one part of it. And that's like a byproduct of the commitments that you're making.
Yeah.
It's not all about that, and I think that we can all relate to that, right? We can all relate to having something that we want for ourselves, being willing to put in the work, take the journey, or, and you've done that. And so I just appreciate you taking the time and sharing,
For sure.
because I wanted other people to hear your story as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We love you, Michelle.
Love you guys too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So again, big thanks to Michelle. That kind of wraps up our chalk talk. We'll call it our chalk talk.
Sounds good.
And yeah, anything else?
No, I think we covered it
I
all.
think we covered it. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful.
Signing off.